This is what's frustrating to me is we should be focused on jobs and the economy. And we've got the U.S., Mexico, Canadian agreement that needs to be done. And that trade agreement needs to be solved. We've got our country being torn apart with illegal immigration, and we need laws in place that are going to allow us to vet people coming in and secure our borders. We've got a debt and deficit during a good economy that we need to address. All of those things are the big issues. And the part that bothers me is we're less than a year away from an election. Let the people decide. Let the people deal with this. But this is frustrating when we know real issues have to be discussed.
Yeah, and is it the format on which this is happening now? They got 45 minutes each. These are opening statements still. It's 11:30 Eastern time. So these are still opening statements, and Taylor's going into detail. Do you know him?
I do not know him. I don't think I dealt with him.
All right. I want you to hear, if we can, if you would put those headsets on. George Kent spoke earlier. He was used to work with him. Here is what he said about his interaction with Ukraine when he thought things were going off the rails. Cut 52.
Over the course of 2018 and 2019, I became increasingly aware of an effort by Rudy Giuliani and others, including his associates Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, to run a campaign to smear Ambassador Yovanovitch and other officials at the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv. The chief agitators on the Ukrainian side of this effort were some of those same corrupt former prosecutors I had encountered.
So they, in the second half, after giving us a history lesson, talking about two tracks of diplomacy. And you had to deal with that with the White House, Secretary of the State Department, and you and at the embassy. Does that bother you, what you just described?
Well, I think, the better practice is to have one person that's an envoy that's in charge. But having said that, there's been a lot at play here. And when there is an ambassador that the president has issues with, he does have the right to pull that ambassador down. They serve at the pleasure of the president. And so without knowing all the details of what was behind that, that's the part that people need to understand. Her returning home, there was nothing wrong with that. If that's what the president wanted to do, that actually happens in other cases as well. The fact that they're now saying that Rudy got involved, that was something that I think that they needed to discuss and figure out.